Honorable Vice President of our Institute, CAM Devraj Reddy, Chairman of CP Committee, Babu Abraham, my distinguished colleagues J. Venkateshwarlu, Murli, the Chairman of Board of Studies, Chairman of the Regional Council, P.R. Aruloli, Chairman of Hyderabad Branch, C.A. Raghunandan, Secretary, C.A. Chengal Reddy, distinguished SIRC members, Adu Sumidli, who was good enough to introduce me, C.A. Naresh Geli, past Chairman Prasanna Kumar, Regional Member Falguna Kumar, past Council members, Mr. Sita Ramaiya, Mr. Koteshwar Rao, Mr. Lakshmi Nivas Sharma, senior members, Bhaskar Raoji, my elders, friends, and colleagues. It's a great pleasure to be in Hyderabad today morning and to be part of this Gyan Sadhana, practice of knowledge, a conference, a 2 days national conference being organized by the CPE committee. My compliments to the chairman of the CPE committee for putting in a very nice 2 days conference covering very, very important subjects and having organized very eminent speakers on each of the relevant subject. I'm sure this 2 days of Nyan Sadhana will enrich all the members, delegates who are present here, and my very best wishes for the success of this 2 days conference. I'm extremely delighted to see the way the Hyderabad branch has organized this program. My compliments to the chairman and all the members of the managing committee of Hyderabad branch for putting in this great effort and making this all the logistic arrangements for the success of this conference. The chairman SIRC has already mentioned about the various initiatives which the regional council is taking, and I'm delighted to see the way the regional council is working under your leadership, and I'm sure it will bring more glory to the region and to the profession on the whole. Friends, the Institute is marching ahead in its 67th year. We have just completed 66 years of a glorious existence, and on the 67th Foundation Day, I'm thankful to the Chairman Board of Studies, C.A.V. Murli, for enabling the Council to release the new education and training system. It is going to shape the future generation of students who will come into the profession. And as I will deal with some of those important changes which have been made in this scheme a little while from now, my compliments again to the Board of Studies for carrying out outreach programs, meeting large number of stakeholders and carrying out and enabling the Institute and the Council to finalize this large exercise which was undertaken for last more than 2 years. My distinguished colleague J. Venkateshwarlu, I am thankful to him for all his support in the council, be it the exam committee, be it the executive committee and all the committees where he is acting very actively participating in the deliberations and helping the committees and the council to take the right decisions. Friends, I am happy to share with you that the Institute and the profession continues to receive good support and great recognition from the government, from the regulators, and from the other stakeholders. The profession is highly regarded and highly respected, and whenever we meet the ministers, whenever we meet any of the regulators and we bring out the issues before them, the representations made are very carefully considered, and you will see a lot of policies are being framed in accordance with the suggestions which are being given from the Institute from time to time. The Companies Act 2013, the changes which have taken place recently, the Companies Amendment Act 2015 passed by the Parliament also contains various important suggestions which the Council had given to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and I am happy that the government has accepted our suggestions and put them in the form of a law. There are various rules under the new Companies Act which have been formulated. A lot of changes are still required, and there is a constant dialogue going on between the Institute and the Ministry of Corporate Affairs to see that these rules are framed in the larger interest of the profession and the larger interest of the country as a whole. I'm thankful to the Honorable Finance Minister for considering our suggestions with respect to NFRA. We had an occasion to meet the Honorable Finance Minister, who is also the Minister of Corporate Affairs. we had we had an occasion to make a presentation to the Honorable Minister to bring out various amendments which are required under the law, and we also covered the aspects relating to what are the issues for ease of doing business in India, how to help in the capital formation in the country, and how the law can also help in reducing the compliance cost. And these were the three major areas which we spoke upon, and we made a written representation before the minister. And arising out of that, the minister had assured us that he will be shortly forming a committee to look into the various amendments which are required, still more amendments which are required under the Companies Act 2013. And friends, I am delighted to share that he has recognized the importance of our profession, and as president of the institute, he has nominated me in this committee, which represents, which recognizes the role which our profession has in the formulation of the changes which are required under the law, and where the rules are still required to be amended. This committee has had already 2 rounds of meetings, and as you would have seen, a notice has been put up in the website also of the institute and in the press to invite comments, suggestions, and difficulties which members would be experiencing where the law would require an amendments. The Corporate Laws Committee has invited these suggestions on behalf of the institute. I would request members present here to share their concerns so that your concerns can be properly and appropriately taken up by the institute and represented before the ministry. With respect to the national NFRA, the National Financial Reporting Authority, we had brought out before the Honorable Minister that the provisions contained in Section 132 requires a serious reconsideration, and we also had an occasion to meet the members of the Standing Committee of the Parliamentary Finance Ministry, and this Standing Committee of the Parliament gave a very patient hearing to the views being mentioned by the Council. And as you would have seen in the report which the Standing Committee has hosted on its website and today which is in public domain, the Standing Committee has advised the Ministry of Corporate Affairs that while constituting NFRA, the jurisdictional overlap should be avoided with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and the concerns of the institute should be properly addressed while formulating the rules relating to NFRA. And friends, I believe this is a very, very important development, because for the first time, such a very important committee of the Parliament, the Standing Committee on Finance, has directly given recommendations to the government as how the NFRA should be formulated, keeping the concerns of the profession in mind. And therefore, I believe that the recognition and the importance which our profession has continues to be recognized by all stakeholders, government, regulators, and the honorable members of Parliament. There are very important changes which are going on with respect to direct taxes, indirect taxes, and as I was going through this paper book, I was very happy to see that practically every important aspect which is going to have an impact on the profession is being considered for the purpose of deliberations. I saw the Companies Act, the Accounts and Audits, which Nilesh Bhai is taking tomorrow, the Income Computation and Disclosure Standards, which I believe my good friend Mr. Jayant Gokhale would be addressing today. There is also a subject with respect to internal financial controls and reporting on frauds. Now, these are very important topics from the profession point of view, and I would like to reiterate that in each of these areas, the respective committees of the institute has been playing a very proactive role and giving suggestions to the government in terms of coming out with these policies. With respect to fraud reporting, we had brought out this point before the ministry that the way the law is enacted today would require practically every fraud to be reported, and even immaterial, insignificant frauds would get reported, which will not add any kind of value to the functioning of the government. And in the process, so much of information, irrelevant information may come to the government that those areas which require proper attention to be given by the ministry may possibly get overlooked. And in line with that, the law has now been amended, which requires the ministry, which has enabled the ministry the powers to notify the threshold limits. Today, we are in the process of discussing what should be these threshold limits, and we are in the process of dialogue with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs to identify and decide what could be the threshold limits which should be considered. Should it be 5% or 10% of the turnover? Should it also be related to net worth? Are very important benchmark areas where the council is considering, and suggestions would be given to the ministry. I invite all the members to share your views through the chairman of the branch or the chairman of this conference committee, so that we can capture your views while we present this to the ministry. Importantly, also on the front of the direct taxes, while we have this income computation and disclosure standards which have been notified for all SSEs, corporate SSEs, non-corporate SSEs, SSEs who are likely to follow Ind AS standards or who are not likely to follow Ind AS standards. There are a lot of important meetings which are going on as to what should be the MAT provisions, MAT provisions with respect to companies which would follow Ind AS. There has been a committee under Justice A.P. Shah which has been looking into the MAT issues with respect to foreign institutional investors. And friends, our Direct Tax Committee, International Tax Committee have been actively working in these areas, and our representations and suggestions have been given in all these matters. The GST is the next important legislation which is going to have a direct impact on the way the professional opportunities available to us. And as the Honorable Finance Minister, when he presented the GST bill, the constitutional amendment bill in Parliament in December 2014, as the Honorable Finance Minister said, that this is going to be the single largest tax reform since independence. GST is going to change the way the business is being done by the industries. GST is going to enable a single tax regime with multiple components of central GST, state GST, and it would enable the goods and services tax law to be encompassed in one place and avoid the multiple levies of different taxes. And therefore, it is going to have a very significant impact with respect to how the supply chain systems in the business are to undergo a major change. When the supply chain systems undergo a change, we will find the MIS being changed, the way the stock transfers take place, the way the business organizations are there are to undergo a change, and it would mean enormous professional opportunities for our members. At the central level and at the state levels, we are in the process of advising the government as to how they can identify what should be the revenue neutrality rates, which is a very important aspect for each of the state governments. And there will be a need to carry out large-scale training programs for the various officials of each state government. There is no other professional body which is geared up to undertake such kind of training programs right across the country, because as there will be a single tax or a single levy and a single tax regime across the country, it is only we as chartered accountants, as the institute and the professional body, which is competent to carry out proper training programs right across the country. We have offered our services to the central government, to the various state governments, and I would request all my colleagues, the learned members present here, to see that how they can take the benefit of the emerging changes in GST, and also how they can help the institute in carrying out the various training programs which will be required to be conducted across the country, across each state, and within each state at different places, because that is what the governments will have to undertake to train their officials in the nook and corner of the country with respect to the new tax law. Friends, one of the very important matters which the Institute is always looking at is to see how the education and training system for the students is geared up to meet and to see that it is in line with the present requirements, and how best we can keep on training and imparting better education to our next generation of chartered accountants. As I mentioned, we had a committee for review of education and training, which was constituted in 2013-14, and over a period of last 2 years, we had several deliberations within the council. We had several outreach programs. Many such programs were also held in Hyderabad. I'm thankful to the Vice President and all members in Hyderabad for their valuable inputs in this area. We had a number of meetings with the industry representatives, with the HR functionaries in the companies as to what they would like to see in a new chartered accountant. We have tried to map all their concerns, and we have tried to capture their concerns and convert them into this new education and training system. I'm happy that the Honorable Minister, our own member C.A. Piyush Goyal, launched this scheme on 1st of July in New Delhi. The scheme is now in the process. The necessary amendments to the regulations will have to be carried out, and we expect that this scheme would be available to the students from 2016 and onwards. The important changes which we have contemplated is that the entry system in the profession should be such that we are able to filter out and have those students who are competent and capable of becoming chartered accountants. The largest concern has been that we have a system where the entry is easy and the exit is difficult. While it is up to the students themselves how much of seriousness and how much of dedication with which they pursue their studies, at the same time it becomes our duty to see that even at the entry level, we put in such barriers that only those deserving students can enter into the profession. And therefore we have modified the entrance examinations, which was purely an objective-based assessment, to a system which is going to be both subjective as well as objective. And the entrance test, which will be now more like the foundation exams which were there around 2 decades back, where there will be 2 papers on accountancy and mercantile law, which will be purely subjective. We have also introduced a 50-mark paper on English, and we have 2 papers which are subjective, which are objective, which is one is on mathematics, logic and statistics is one paper, and the second paper is economics and general commercial knowledge, which will be purely objective. So it will have a blend of objective and subjective. We have tried to see that we provide the latest and those subjects which are relevant for the future generation of chartered accountants. We have improved and included more topics on practical training under information technology systems, and we have also tried to shape up the general management and communication skills for the students so that they become an all-round chartered accountants who are good in their theoretical knowledge and who also command the necessary soft skills. But friends, I must reiterate the concern of the council that the entire education system will not be complete unless we give, as principals in our office, we ensure that we give qualitative training to our articles. While I'm aware that the large number of members present here are conscious of their duties with respect to giving excellent practical training to the students, but this is one area where we need to put in more efforts to see that while a student is pursuing his studies and we carry out his training with the object of preparing a world-class chartered accountant, in the process we make him do our professional work and give him that practical training. So the object, as all the members are aware, is that we have a student not to do our professional work, but the object is that we give him the training to make him a world-class student, and in the course of imparting the training, he is, as a process of his learning, he is doing some professional work in our offices, which is to give him the practical training, which is so very important in the entire education and training system which we have in this for the chartered accountancy students. I am happy that our course continues to be the cheapest professional course. Our course continues to be one which is still attracting large number of students to our course, and as a council, as an institute, we remain committed to see that our course is competitive. It is our course is affordable to the even the most economically challenged families. And having pursued this course, when he becomes a chartered accountant, we are able to open him a global gate of opportunities across the globe, which would bring greater recognition and greater financial rewards to any student becoming a member of the institute. Friends, on the corporate social responsibilities, we have been working very hard. This year, we have a separate committee which is designated exclusively for the corporate social responsibilities. And we have taken up very important projects both under the Railway Ministry as well as under the Ministry of Power and Energy, where the honorable ministers are members of our profession. In respect of the Indian Railways, we have signed a MOU through the Accounting Research Foundation with the Indian Railways, and we are today carrying out conversion of the existing cash system of accounting to accrual system of accounting in the Ajmer division of the Indian Railways. And the idea is that once we prepare the fixed assets register and we prepare an opening balance sheet, we prepare the financial statements for a particular period for Ajmer division through the Accounting Research Foundation. We have the templates in place, we have the general guidance in place, and then the work of conversion across all the divisions of the Indian Railways is being carried out by the professional members in their professional capacity. So while the Accounting Research Foundation will show the guidance, will be a lamppost, will give the general manner in which how the work is to be carried out, will act as a nodal agency for the Indian Railways. The larger object is that once this is achieved, once the pilot project is completed, we will be able to open up this for the entire profession, and the conversion of the cash system to accrual system in all the divisions across the length and breadth of the country is carried out by the members of our professional, our own profession. So the research or the area of working is that we help the government to achieve its objectives. As the Honorable Railway Minister has mentioned, he is talking about an investment of more than $100 billion in the Indian Railways. If that kind of investment is to come in, the financial system on a pro bono basis, that is without any financial rewards coming to us, it is a work which I believe should not take more than 1 or 2 or 3 working days for us to carry out the physical verification process. While you and I will not get any professional rewards, but the rewards will come to the profession as a whole, and I request for the participation of all the members in this project. This will enable us to showcase the profession, the way we are contributing to the national growth, the way we say that we are partners in nation building. This will enable us to discharge our corporate social responsibilities and help the government in achieving its targets, because what is envisaged by the ministry is construction, and to see that the money spent is properly utilized. And when this work is to be done and to be carried out across the country, again, there is no other profession better suited to do this work than the profession of chartered accountancy. Finally, friends, my humble request to members to contribute to the Chartered Accountants Benevolent Fund. CAI Benevolent Fund is not part, as you are aware, it is not part of the Institute's funds, so we cannot put the Institute's funds into the CAI Benevolent Fund. CAI Benevolent Fund gets its funds from donations and contributions from members at large, and we use that money to help another member who is in financial distress. So while we pray that none of us have to come to the CAI Benevolent Fund for any kind of assistance, but the reality is that we get such applications where there is a widow, or there's a person who has died in the age of mid-40s. There are elderly dependent parents and there are young children, and the poor widow is put in a very distressed condition. And we saw recently that certain housing loan installments, checks had bounced off. There was great financial difficulties. And in such cases, when we go back, we find that we do not have adequate funds to help such members in distress. And therefore, I request my learned members present here to come forward to contribute to the CA Benevolent Fund. Like as we do on any happy occasion when we contribute to the charities, we give donations. This is also one area, even if you are a life member, you can think of giving something more to the CA Benevolent Fund so that it gets more corpus and we are better suited to carry out our activities with respect to helping our own members who may be in needs of financial matters. With respect to the humble request to members to participate in the next international conference, which is scheduled next month on 7th, 8th and 9th August at Indore. My personal invitation to each one of you to please come in large number. And as I have been personally enjoying your hospitalities whenever I come to Hyderabad and whenever I visit the other branches, similarly, I would now request you to provide me that opportunity to extend the same kind of hospitalities to you. And I'm sure you will enjoy this conference. We have several international speakers and many national speakers of international eminence who are going to address this international conference. I look forward to meeting you in Indore in big number. With those words, I'm happy to inaugurate this 2 days conference, and I'm sure it will be a matter of great learning for all the members. Thank you so much.